It's been 48 days since we witnessed this moment in history.
The office of President of the United States.
When Donald J. Trump was sworn in as President of the United States and repeated the promise that helped get him elected.
Together, we will make America great again. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
The inaugural seems like yesterday and a couple of years ago at the same time. It's been a frenetic stretch as executive orders have been issued and replaced. Cabinet and almost cabinet members have come and gone, and many Obama-era policies have been rolled back. According to a recent Gallup poll, 42% of Americans approve of the Trump's job performance, while 53% disapprove. That's the worst rating of any president in modern history at this point in his presidency. Tonight, as I said, as we mark the all-important 48-day mark, we're going to break down how the president is doing, as well as some of the other leaders, would-be leaders, and institutions around him. Joining me are Farai Chideya. It's a pleasure to meet you, by the way. A senior writer at 538.com, is also a fellow at Harvard's Shorenstein Center on Media, Politics, and Public Policy. Good to have you. Jessica Taco, she's back, who we refer to as an FOP, friend of Pence. She's worked with him, too. She's also a partner of the government relations firm Haynes & Associates right here in Boston. Dan Primack is a business editor at the new venture Axios. Nice to see you, too, Dan. Since you deal with, like, net things, winners and losers, 48 days in, is Trump a net winner or loser in the traditional rating kind of game?
I think he's right now probably a net winner, actually, in the sense of, because most of the things he has tried to do so far, he has gotten done. Despite the immigration ban issue, he's gotten most of the things done. But the big thing, which is the health care policy, the first really big legislative piece, the jury's still out because we just don't know.
You say that even though the Russian thing is hanging over him, people even in his own party are laughing at this tweet storm on Saturday morning, despite those things.
Despite those things, because I think for the most part, and look, we'll ultimately see, in a year and a half when there's elections, I think the people who are his voters, and look, he seems to care about his voters more than most presidents do when you look at the rallies he's doing, et cetera. His voters don't seem to much care about these things.
Net winner or loser so far?
He's absolutely a net winner.
Why is that?
He's implementing everything that he promised to implement. And I think the Russia thing I find really funny, and I'd like to challenge the Democrats on the panel. It was Barack Obama who said to Mitt Romney, hey, what happened, the 1980s called, and are you trying to talk about their foreign policy? It was Barack Obama that kind of made fun of Mitt Romney about that.
Well, he was making fun of Mitt Romney saying the single greatest threat was Russia.
But now you have this craze amongst the Democrats that Russia.
Well, because Russia hacked emails and affected the election. Well, the intelligence community has said that it was Russia that did that.
There's no proof of collusion.
There's no proof of collusion, but there is proof of the hacking. Yeah.
Okay, you're here too. Hello, Farai. So what's your sense of the net for this guy so far?
I would say net winner grading on a curve, meaning so many people expected President Trump to fail utterly that he's a net winner in that sense. But I think what's happening is that in these first days, he has had a remarkable amount of solidarity from congressional Republicans, but he just hit the ACA iceberg. The Affordable Care Act is fracturing because you're seeing people on the right, people from the sort of Freedom Caucus wing of the GOP, outraged that this is not eliminating a government mandate, and people who are on the sort of centrist side of the GOP. Let's leave the Democrats out of it, but the GOP is a hot mess around
Let's stay
healthcare.
within the GOP. Here's Tom Cotton, young United States Senator, a Republican, I should say, from Arkansas. Here's what he tweeted. House health care bill can't pass Senate without major changes. To my friends in the House, pause, start over, get it right, don't get it fast. It seems to me, Mr. Art of the deal, he had Ted Cruz to dinner last night. He's tweeting directly to Rand Paul. He's meeting with some members of the House of Representatives. This is the true test of whether or not the guy really knows how to negotiate like he was marketing himself during the campaign, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's as you said, the jury's still out. It's just the bill has just been introduced. So we need to take some time to watch how things play out. And this is how bills get passed. They have to get tossed around between the Senate and the House.
But wait, when Republicans have been saying and voting maybe 50 times to repeal for 7 years, when they didn't have the power, when they finally do, shouldn't they have been ready with something that at least the Republicans embraced?
I think they are ready, but there's a lot of different opinions on it. And quite frankly, I think it's better that they take the time and hear the opinions of everybody than ramming something through
well,
just because they have the
because they
majority.
can't ram it. it through. They
Well,
can't
they
ram
can
it through the
through
House.
budget.
They can't get it through the Senate.
Well,
This
through
bill
budget
they can't get through.
reconciliation, they can pass it with only 50 votes.
Well, except there's some senators who say, and on
Right.
the Republican side, we don't want to
Republican
lose
senators who
Medicaid
won't.
money, so that's a whole other deal.
But they
you know, in
should
many
be debating. They should be bringing in bringing in all sides of the issue, all those caucuses, in order and discussing with Democrats as well in order to pass the bill. So I think it's okay that they didn't show up on day one with it all cooked. That would scare me a little bit if they weren't hearing everyone's opinion.
Yeah,
You were
but
about to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even about showing up on day one, which actually that was something that the president was like, we're going to repeal Obamacare on day one. So that was a promise that he didn't meet, although I think he generally has been meeting his promises. But the reality is, this pleases no one. If you look at this bill, people who are nearing retirement age, who make under $75,000 a year, are going to end up paying more so that insurance industry executives can get tax breaks at their companies. How does that drain the swamp in any way? And I think that there's a point at which the generally Republicans have been supportive of President Trump and generally Democrats have not. But if you're a Republican who voted for President Trump and you find out you have to pay more money so someone else gets a tax break, that's where the rubber is.
Well, it is a huge
road.
wealth transfer. There's no
Yeah.
question.
It's also
But
huge, but it's a big problem, though, right? One of the big criticisms of Obama was that he maybe spent too much political capital early on health care. If Trump does the same thing, if he has to spend so much time getting Republicans on board, he might have a really hard time ultimately with taxes and then infrastructure, which should have, at least taxes should have been a layup.
Well, you know, and even Mitch McConnell is saying we're going to have to wait on taxes, and he's the one who says we want to see the Congressional Budget Office scoring, so to speak. Can we move to Congress for a second? Here's my quick and probably unfair analysis. Democrats are powerless, Republicans are clueless. Is that a fair? And when I say clueless, I respect what Jessica said about, you know, it's just the start of the game, but it is totally clear that they are all over the place on this thing, which does not look good. Some of them are criticizing the president on the Saturday morning tweets. Is that not a fair one-line description of where we are a month and a half in with Congress?
I think it's fair if you say clueless about how to get things done with a majority.
Well, that's sort of how you get things done, right?
No, but I'm saying it's like you've got all of the instruments. You've got Republican control of the White House. You've got the House and the Senate. But it's not just clueless. It's like clueless about how to govern when you've got all of the cards in your hands. And that's, the Democrats have been rightly accused of that many times in the past, and now it's the Republicans' turn.
But can the Democrats just be the just say no thing? I mean, my sense is the bottom line is people voted for a guy who said, I'm going to repeal Obamacare.
Right.
Now, maybe they didn't buy exactly, as you say, what all the details were. Wouldn't the Democrats be wiser acknowledging we're not going to keep what we had to try to work with the Republicans to craft something that's imperfect rather than end up maybe with something horrible at the end of the day?
Well, I'm not a Democratic strategist.
No, I understand.
But what I would say, from being a political reporter for years, the Democrats are better off letting the Republicans fumble the ball and then coming in to save the day, which might mean keeping the ACA as it is.
I'm not unfair when I say that Republicans are clueless. I know you say it's early on, but they really have no idea where to go with this thing, do they?
I don't think it's even about it being early on. There are different folks in the party with different views, and that's the political process. They need to express that, and they need to debate it. And I think one of the biggest complaints that the Republicans had and that the American people had when the Democrats were in the majority, and I think that's one reason that the Democrats lost the majority that they had, was that the Democrats were ramming things through. And so I think it's completely healthy that there's debate and there's discussion, especially in these early stages, and that's how our democracy works.
Okay, we're going to move to media. We only have on one hand, the media is the enemy of the people, according to Steve Bannon and the President of the United States, and I think it's worked with some. On the flip side, subscription numbers are up for the failing New York Times, as we call it, the Washington Post, Boston Globe here, cable station numbers exploding. So how's the media doing so far?
Well, as a business, the media is doing phenomenally well. Look, I'm at a media startup that launched 2 days before the inauguration, and it has worked out pretty well for us as well. Look, Trump is a soap opera, and I don't mean that necessarily in a negative or positive way. There is always a new development every single day, including on weekends, which is quite remarkable. And if you're the media, that means that people are going to always tune in to see what happened next. It's great for me.
I think it's hard to deny that as a business matter, it's a plus. We only have a minute left. How are they doing in terms of performance media so far? A lot of your your fellow Republicans think they are the enemy of the American people.
Well, I think it's interesting that I think that President Trump is a lot smarter than people give him credit for. They're out there like a cat chasing a ball, chasing the newest thing to get the ratings. But I think they're missing the strategic plays that are at hand behind the scenes and the big stories, chasing the ball that way.
You were nodding your head in agreement in terms of they're underestimating this guy. The media is, yes?
I think so. I mean, I think consistently since the beginning of the election season. Also, I think it's really hard right now. I think the media is doing well in some ways, but it's hard to balance. Should you respond to the president's latest tweet versus should you have investigative reporters like just focused and not produce as much material but produce deeper stories?
Government by chaos, and they don't really know. It's a strategic government by chaos. They don't know how to deal with fraud. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Great to meet you, too.
Just great to see you. Dan?
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks, all three of you.